Stacy. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. This is Stacy's Bookcase, where I like to talk about books. And today I'm going to do a spoiler-free review of Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. Gardens of the Moon is about an empire that is taking over pretty much everything. It's conquering everything. This campaign has been going on for years and years. Everyone is exhausted, and it's not over. It just keeps going, and more places are being conquered. And this last place is a free city, Darhujistan. I think I butchered the name, but it's one of the last, or the last, great free city, and the Empress wants to conquer it, and that's where the majority of this conflict centers, or this book centers around. This is the first book in a series. I think the series is like 10 books long, but when I counted, I might be wrong, but I think it's 10 books long. And it's definitely a book where a lot is set up. I mean, a lot of things happen and are resolved in this first book, but not quite. And there are lots of things hinted at. They're not thrown in your face, which is really nice. That a line of something that is intriguing, but they don't go into, you know, oh, that is going to be significant later. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I'm surprised, and the reason I'm surprised is because this is actually the second time I've read this book. I read this book probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I think I was in high school, and I didn't like it at the time, but I think that's because at the time I had a very specific kind of book that I wanted to read. I had different tastes in books then as well. I did not like books that jumped between different characters, like jumped across different places. I really wanted to just stick with one character and one plot line and not jump around. I also really wanted a strong female lead in all of my books. And if I didn't really have those, I wasn't really interested in the book. And I didn't really like super complicated prose as well. I read different things then than I do now, and I'm really glad that I did end up deciding to reread this. I picked it up because Mike's Book Reviews is doing a read-along for the whole series, and while I don't feel confident that I'll be able to keep up with the read-along, I decided to at least give it a shot. And man, I'm so glad, because this time around I really liked it, and I know it's because my taste in books have changed a lot. I really like the subtleties in this book. I didn't mind the jumping around at all, because I found all of the characters really interesting and all the things going on really interesting. The pace is pretty good. It does jump around a lot between different places and different characters, but each part is so packed with something really interesting going on that it doesn't really bother. It didn't bother me, at least. The plot in this is, I would say it's like medium to fast-paced. There's a lot going on, but it is dense because there's so much going on. But there wasn't really any time when I felt like it was dragging, because there's so much happening. And I think that the way the author handled going between different points was done well. I didn't at any point feel like, even though we didn't see a character for a while, that frustrated me. I knew where they were, what was going on, and that was just enough until we got back to them. And then the characters are all really good, and that's part of the reason why I enjoyed the book, even though it jumped around between different characters, because each character was really interesting and complicated and had an interesting backstory and an interesting view and different goals. Everyone has different goals and like what they want. And what I also found really almost kind of heartbreaking was that you see people on all different points, different sides of this conflict, and you sort of want all of them to do well and succeed, but that can't happen because they're all fighting each other. So yeah, it's like you want everyone to come together and hold hands and be happy, but that's not gonna happen because they all have very different goals in mind. And then the world. Oh my goodness, the world is so interesting and deep. I found the lore, like the way the magic system worked and the different Warrens that the mages draw their magic from to be really interesting, and the like history of the different peoples and the different races. I am super curious to know what else there is, and there were definitely things that were hinted at, talked about in a line or two that you know is going to be addressed in later books, and that makes me really excited to continue the series. I don't usually give books a star rating, but on Storygraph I gave it a 4.5. I didn't give it a 5 because there were some, the only issue that I had was that there were some things that felt a little too coincidental with the plot. I really hate plot conveniences, and while there was sort of an explanation for why this was happening, I felt like it took it a little too far with some things. That was the only real issue that I had, and I really hope that that isn't an issue that continues. But that was really the only issue that I had. I'm really looking forward to reading the other books. I've got to rent it from the library, so it's going to be a little bit before I get the next book, which is fine because I have so many other things to read right now. But yeah, if you have read this book, or if you've read the series, if you could let me know which ones were your favorites. How did this book compare to the other books in the series? I'd really like to know if this is like a high point or even a low point. I'm curious. I know that not everyone likes the Malazan series, and at first, before rereading the book, I understood because I was of the opinion that I didn't like it either, but I like it now. Post-recording Stacy here, my camera cut out at the end of this, but that's okay because all I really had to say was thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the video. Feel free to comment below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!